Welcome to Empowered Voices Advocacy in Action, the podcast that amplifies the voice of patients, advocates, and healthcare leaders driving change. Together, we'll explore stories, strategies, and solutions to empower you to make an impact. Let's turn advocacy into action, starting now.
As at Healtheon Canada, Empowering Voices, our podcast. Today, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Raymond Rupert, physician, healthcare innovator, and founder of RCM Health. This episode explores the importance of patient advocacy and sharing the future of Canadian healthcare. As a leader at the intersection of clinical care and patient navigation, Dr. Rupert will offer his insights on how advocacy can bridge gaps, enhance outcomes, and foster a more equitable healthcare system. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Rupert. It's great to have you on today, and we're very honored that you could join us.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Cheryl.
Wonderful.
Hopefully we can share the wisdom today with all the listeners, and hopefully they'll get some value out of listening to this podcast.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics. From your unique vantage point as both a healthcare provider and a systems thinker, how would you define patient advocacy, and why is it becoming so vital in today's complex health environment?
Sure. Well, maybe I could sort of give you a little bit of the elevator pitch on me and my company. So I'm Raymond Rupert. I was a family doctor for 40 years, so not my first rodeo. And about 30 years ago, I decided to really try to help complex patients because complex patients need more of an integrated team, and our system is siloed. Everybody's in their own little silo. So I started RCM Health to provide medical second opinions and navigation and advocacy for complex patients. And so that's what we've done for 30 years.
Wonderful.
And many patients want a medical second opinion. So we have a global ecosystem of over 4,000 specialists that can work on teams, and they can get a global perspective on what to do to respond to their problem. So
Wonderful.
It's a company that focuses on complexity, navigation, and advocacy for complex patients. And of course, the healthcare system is equally complex.
Absolutely. In itself it has its complexities. So that brings us to the very real challenges that patients face. In your view, what gaps in our healthcare system do strong patient advocates help bridge, particularly when it comes to access or communication or even their health outcomes?
Yeah. So why don't we look at what advocacy is?
Absolutely.
Okay? So the family doctor refers someone off to a neurosurgeon, and the person has, say, spinal stenosis, which is quite common, and they have really bad pain and they need a solution. So the access to neurosurgery in Canada is quite difficult. You might wait 6 months to 2 years to talk to somebody, and then maybe the procedure will be another 6 months out. So someone needs to step in, and usually it's one of our nurses, or there are advocates that would represent that patient. And the neurosurgeon's probably got 200 or 300 faxes on his or her desk. And it's very difficult to triage people. Like if you have a stack of faxes, like how do you know that
Who
they
gets
should
to
see
be
your
choice
patient
number
Eddie?
one? Yep.
That's right. So what we can do is present the neurosurgical office, the nurse, the admin with very concise information and the imaging. So that's all put together. So we have a complete package. Instead of there being one piece of paper, which is the fax, there's a comprehensive briefing package on the patient, which has a summary of their history, very, very tight, very concise, plus access to the imaging. So if the neurosurgeon had a moment, like 5 minutes to kind of review that, then they might see the need to see the person. Okay. So that's the information. Okay. Then the next part is really talking to the office nurse. So if we're given the opportunity to talk to the reception person, the nurse, the physician assistant, or whatever, we can then highlight sort of the requirements of the patient and why we're actually advocating for access. And then
Absolutely.
and then sometimes the neurosurgeon will actually talk to us out of courtesy. We might get 5 minutes. And then they don't want to talk to the patient, but they might talk to us and our medical team or our nursing team, et cetera. And then we could highlight the relevance of the person coming to them. And we want to make sure that if the person has a lumbar spine issue, that we're not sending the person to a neurosurgeon who does not do lumbar spines. The worst thing is to be on a wait list for 2 years and find out you went to the wrong surgeon.
I can only
So,
imagine the frustration,
oh my goodness, can you imagine? I've been on this list for 2 years. I go to see the surgeon and I went to
only
the
to
wrong
find
surgeon.
out. Yeah.
Well, we start over again. Anyways, we need to kind of right size the thing. We got to know that we're in the right direction. We're heading in the right towards the right resource, that the person is qualified, that they got the
Mhm.
right information, the right data, easy access to it, and they can talk to a real person at RCM. That will sometimes work. And what happens if it doesn't work, Cheryl? What are we going to do?
Absolutely. Now we're back to square one.
Well, there are some spinal cases which are actually emergencies. So if someone has what's called a cauda equina syndrome, which is a spinal condition which is urgent, then we would send them to an emergency department, but an emergency department that has neurosurgical capabilities. So if we're in a little rural community, it's not going to help to go to the local emergency department. You might have to go to a bigger center like London, Ontario, Hamilton, Toronto, Ottawa, where we know that the neurosurgical staff is available. Okay. And then we have a trick called who's on call. So they usually have a neurosurgical staff person or resident on call.
Right.
And so we can then find out from the locating who's on call. And then we can have a chat with the doctor on call. And we have to be really well prepared because they're usually grumpy because they've been up all night.
Yes.
So we're really polite and patient, and then we brief them on the patient. We say, well, this patient is in your emerge because they have a cauda equina syndrome. And we explain it. And that usually gets the neurosurgical staff to focus on our patient. Okay, so now we've done that. And sometimes patients are stoical. But what happens if you waited 2 years, you've got persistent back pain, but you talk to the neurosurgeon and you say, life is hunky dory? What happens then?
Well, they've lived with this pain for so long that it becomes just part of their normal everyday life, correct? It's now yeah,
Well, they
absolutely.
go to the back of the line.
Yeah,
So we'd have to coach the patient on how to tell the truth. Like if you're going to sugarcoat
absolutely.
this and say, "Oh, life is just grand. I just planted all my tulips, and or I'm harvesting my whatever I'm doing at the farm," like we're on, it's not going to happen. Okay, so we actually have to coach the patient on how to meet with and talk to the neurosurgeon.
And describe their condition or the quality of life that they have or the symptoms that they're having, even though they
Well,
live with these.
exactly. You're. I may have to hire you, Cheryl. You know exactly what has to be done here. So we coach the patient. The patient has rehearsed their presentation with our staff. They meet with the neurosurgeon. We've got the neurosurgeon has all of our detailed notes, the imaging study, a patient who's prompted and practiced and ready. And voila, that's kind of the secret sauce. Okay. And I think every patient who's got a complex problem needs an advocate. And if your doctor won't do it, maybe you got a friend who's a nurse that can do it, or you Google advocate, or you find an advocate, or you have a nurse practitioner who can help you, or, they could call
Or
RCM
even a
Health and
family
ask for
member.
Dr.
Yeah,
A family member.
absolutely.
Absolutely. We have a family member who jumps in, they're literate, they're smart, they're motivated to help their father or grandfather or whatever. And we coach lots of these advocates. because we like to help people. So does
I
that help
always
you
used
with
to
an
go with
understanding of that?
absolutely. Yeah, I always used to go with my husband, my late husband, and to his doctor appointments and when he saw the hematologist. And I would have a scribbler full of questions, and I would have all his, his blood counts and his vital signs from clinic visit to clinic visit. And I would flag those, and I would do the research, in between. And I always used to say to my husband, "It's your job as the patient to live your life every day the best you can. Leave everything else to me. The research, the determining the questions, how we're gonna, target this with the physician, leave that to me. You need to live the best you can each and every day." And as his advocate, I was able to help him navigate his ship, his journey.
Well,
Absolutely.
well done. That's exactly what it takes, Cheryl. Good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So
that's what we're here trying to do,
do you want
right?
to hear? Yeah. Do you want to hear of how AI is making this more complex?
Absolutely, I do.
Oh, this is a trend that is unbelievable. So we have a complex patient with 8 symptoms. And so they put their 8 symptoms into AI, ChatGPT, or that type of engine. And they ask ChatGPT what's wrong. And it now gives them 8 different conditions. Okay. Well, it gets better because now they put the 8 conditions into ChatGPT and they say, well, what tests or investigations or treatments do I need for my 8 conditions? Now they generate a list of 30 different things, and it's all very clever. Now they take their list of their 8 conditions and 30 tests and they go to their family doctor. And what happens when they get to their family doctor, Cheryl, with all this AI information?
Oh my goodness. I can just imagine, but I think you're going to tell me what happens.
Oh my goodness, we have a moment of reality surfacing because many of the tests are not available in Canada. Some are only research tests, and everybody's unhappy. So,
Absolutely, because
what are
the
we going to?
doctor is being challenged. The patient feels they know everything because AI has told them what they, that they should or supposedly should know. And now we have an adversarial
Oh,
relationship.
yeah. Well, these patients will be going out to buy some cannabis. They're so unhappy. They'll be like smoking up or something. Anyways,
That's one of the things, if I can just interject, that's one of the things I always used to counsel patients on is trust your doctor. Trust what your doctor tells you because they are the subject matter expert.
so here's another trend that's happening. You won't believe this one, but Canada's healthcare system is a little backed up. We know about that.
Oh, yes.
But people are going for their annual exams in Bucharest.
Yeah.
Then they're getting their dental implants done in Turkey. They're getting their plastic surgery done in Costa Rica. And I just took care of a little baby, 8-month-old in Guyana who went to India for his congenital heart surgery.
Oh, my gracious.
So Canadians are looking globally for
Yes.
options. Okay. And RCM Health just happens to have a global ecosystem to meet some of these needs.
Well, and that's where the connectivity, is important in my belief, is because we need to be connected at that global level. Because and don't get me wrong, I believe, and I'm a fundamental believer in a socialized healthcare system, but we know it has some failings. It was built for the 1950s, not the year 2025, and we know that there needs to
Yeah.
be a real revamp of our system to bring it into the modern age. But yes, connectivity globally is in my opinion vitally important.
So let me tell you what's happening in response to that global orientation. So what's happening is
Perfect.
that Canadians are buying global health insurance. So
Interesting.
they
Very
they live
interesting.
in Canada. They live in Canada, but they have $3 to $5 million of benefit, and they can go anywhere.
That's a very
So,
interesting topic. That
oh well, it gets even more interesting. So I was speaking to these global health insurance companies, because they often call us to find the best of the best and all that stuff. Anyways, here's a question for Cheryl. What is the fastest growing group of Canadians that is buying global health insurance? Any idea?
Well, I would have to say baby boomers.
Well, that's
That would be
probably
my
true,
guess.
but let me be more descriptive. So, the fastest growing
Okay.
group of individuals that is buying global health insurance are medical doctors.
Really? Because they know they can't get the treatment at home, so they can go overseas and get their treatment done quicker because less time through the system. They can get their
Yep. So, they call RCM Health. That's us, Raymond Rupert. Hello. I'm RCM Health. Hello. Oh, yes, you'd like to have A, B, or C done. You want that done. You want this done. Oh, you found it on AI? Sure. Call RCM Health and we'll set you up. Oh, you have global health insurance? Well,
let's find a
absolutely. Happy to
practitioner
help you.
somewhere in the world. Yeah.
Well, we already have 4,000. So, somewhere in there is Dr. A, B, or C up in Munich or somebody in Milan, or they're all in our database. So, anyways, we talked about advocacy. We talked about the complexity. We talked about how patients or family members can do it. Uh, I've mentioned that RCM Health is always happy. Like I did a pro bono referral today. Someone from New York needed a pain management doctor, so we triaged her at no cost. We like to help.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. That really brings that. It's funny because I talk about this in a lot of, because I teach at the college level of education, I try and give analogies to my students and for them to get that aha moment, where you see the light bulb come on over their head. And I said, back in the day when you and I had a coloring book, there was the page where you had to connect the dots to make that picture, right? And it wasn't until you got to the last numbers that you actually truly saw the picture come to life. We need to do that more quickly in connecting those dots to see that picture.
Yeah, you should invite me to talk to your students.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I will.
Yeah,
Because
he had me
that's
to.
we need to connect those dots so that we're seeing that picture much more quicker. And that, in my opinion, is through having effective advocacy on both sides of the equation, the physician side, the patient side, being able to bring and have that symbiotic relationship where each other is trusting one another. So the physician trusts the patient, that they're, giving them the right information, the details that they need to make the best diagnosis. The patient has to trust the physician and have that trusting relationship forth and back and forth so that that best diagnosis and treatment trajectory can come to fruition.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we've had the chance today to chat about advocacy. And maybe
Absolutely.
people
Absolutely.
remember rcmhealth.ca, which is our little company. We like to
Wonderful.
help people every day. And I thank you very much for this opportunity to
Oh,
chat today.
thank you for absolutely. Thank you for coming on our podcast. And we'll look forward to having you again at any point in time. Also, Dr. Rupert is a contributor in our E3 Advocacy, Patient Advocacy digital magazine, and has been a great contributor over the past several months. And we look forward to having him be an ongoing contributor when your time permits. We'd certainly love to have you and your ongoing contributions because over 45,000 people across the world are viewing our digital magazine. And just as we spoke today, the global connectivity, that's the importance of patient advocacy because patients are patients around the
Absolutely.
world. It doesn't matter where they live, they still have the same burden of quality of life or burden of the disease. And knowing that, there's a connectivity in another country or another patient somewhere else really gives hope and inspiration and knowledge to that particular patient. So thank you very much for coming
Great.
on our podcast today,
Thank you.
Dr. Rupert. We
Thank
look
you,
forward to
Cheryl.
having you again. Excellent. Thank you so very much.
Appreciate it. Take care now.
And to our listeners, thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to follow Empowering Voices and share this episode with Dr. Raymond Rupert to help amplify the importance of the patient voice. Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered. Take care.
Thank you for joining us on Empowered Voices Advocacy in Action. Stay inspired, stay informed, and keep advocating for change. Together, we're stronger, amplifying our collective voice. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Your voice matters.